Welcome to the Six-Figure Author Experiment, where we help you break through your first or next $100,000 goal. Parental discretion is advised. Now, let's get on with the show.
Hello, Lee.
Hi, Russell. How's your week?
It's going great. Well, that's not true. I've had a just miserable last 2 weeks. This is what we were talking about before we started. And we had a plan for what we were going to talk about today. And then we started talking about hiring and firing things. And we were like, this is probably just the episode. And I feel like at least half our episodes, we were like, we have this plan. And then we start talking and we're like, actually, this is what this week's about.
I love it.
I do kind of think that it was relevant though, because we were going to talk about making a comic and like we work together and like we have a relationship and like so like it kind of works. But we talked last time in the very messy episode about how I lost $30,000 in ads at like growing this email list. And like I don't feel like I lost it because like I did learn just an obscene amount of stuff, and I built the email list, like we got a bunch of leads, like the thing is growing, and like I know a lot of metrics that I didn't know before. Like I know exactly how much it costs to like get a subscriber for our publication, and will I say what that number is? No, you can give me $30,000 and I'll do it, but like it is way higher than I thought it was, and then there's this thing called co-registration, which is like kind of how Substack, if you're listening on Substack, like when you subscribe, it says, why don't you follow these publications? And like sometimes you'll get up to 70 or even 100% of your ad spend covered by that co-registration. But like I just found that publishing is just not a niche where people are really, we got like 30% or 20% covered. So like I learned that like really co-registration is great. And like I use it all the time, but it's probably not going to defray the costs.
Interesting. Yeah.
And like if you're in an AI niche or a hotter niche, like you can literally get like plus like those people are paying more for their leads and like they're charging more. So like it really is very niche based. Our ad costs were within the $1 to $3 that like is recommended for people who are building a newsletter, but like on the higher end, and I needed to be on the lower end. So we're trying to reimagining things. I'm excited because probably by the time you listen to this, I will have redesigned the whole thing, and like you'll be able to be like, oh, I know all about like these things. I'm running tests, and I feel like the last couple years of my life have been about like testing things and being like, well, that didn't work, or that worked and felt terrible, or like that worked but not well enough for me to justify doing it. And like so in a lot of like this works all of the time, and like I can just do this as often as I want. And I think that you have to have that as a business. Like, do you have something like that, Leah, where you're like, everything, if I write in this series, if I do this, anytime I need money, I can just go to this well?
Yeah, absolutely. And I talk about pull the lever in your business that just returns. And I have those levers. At the same time, you talked about, I did this, I tried this did not return. And sometimes I feel like being in business and growing in a business is about making bigger mistakes and failing bigger, because what you just told us was, I got a lot of data. And I think we can trace back a lot of our mistakes, a lot of our successes to previous mistakes that gave us a fork in the road, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like the thing with business is like I said maybe a year ago after we signed the deal for the conference, I was like, oh, I'm at the level of bankruptable mistakes now. And like I feel like a lot of like I'm not saying you should make bankruptable mistakes, but like as you grow, like if you lose $500, if you lose $1,000, like even if you lose $10,000, that's a huge number. But like you probably aren't going to go bankrupt on that like thing, but like eventually, in order to take these bigger and bigger risks, a lot of it is just like, am I willing to sign my name on the dotted line of $100,000 without like I will owe to and I know people who use like Amazon's who like use Amazon's like I guess bespoke service where like you have to spend 30 or $50,000 minimum just to get in the door. And like it's a
Right.
minimum commitment every month to just keep going. And like
Yeah.
that is like, well, if I make 10 grand on a $50,000 mistake over 3 months, that's $120,000 I'm losing. And like now we're in like I'm selling my house mistakes.
Yeah. Ideally, you make small mistakes. Nick Erickson and I talked a lot about the book Anti-Fragile
Mhm. Love that book.
by Nicholas Nassim Taleb. I know I keep starting it and not getting through it, and then I'm saying, Nick, what are your thoughts on it? So I can just sound smart when I talk about it. Thanks, Nick. So he came back to where in your business, especially when you're starting out, where in your business are very little risk, but with massive upsides. And he's an
Right.
ads guy and ads testing. And he said, look, if you test your cover and your blurb, that is a massive lever that you're pulling. You can get to the point where you can 10x your sales and
Right.
you spent whatever the cover costs. So let's say
Mhm.
$100 to $500 and whatever the ad test costs. So $100 to $200, maybe even less. Sometimes it's obvious, wow, this is the winner.
Right.
So where in your business can you make those small mistakes, lose a little bit of amount of money for a massive upside? And I'm telling you
Right.
right now, he's very smart. He thought it through and he said, test your ads, test your covers.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. And then those successes lead to hopefully more successes. But like for instance, like we did Death's Kiss, the comic that we talked
Yeah.
about with Melissa several weeks ago at this point. But like that single issue cost more than whole trades. Like this book cost more. Actually, this is our most expensive book, cost less than just doing 24 pages of art for this new cover. But like this next step is kind of what is a mistake? What is something that like is going to have a high return, but like it's going to cost more? And you usually like build that on something that like was successful before. So like I have tons of data on comics. I'm all about like I know like what kind of comics sell and I know what kind of artists sell. And so after years of doing that, like Melissa and I spent like a lot more money than I am generally comfortable with. Like making this one issue of comic, and like it became my second biggest book that I've ever done. It like led to us doing a comic, like it led to like me writing a book with SK, a different book with SK. Like it's probably going to lead to more books. So like um
Yeah.
so like it's like one of those things where it's like, well, it's a like I owe a lot. So it's like it would be like going to Amazon. So like if you put $10,000 in Amazon every month and like you're making 30 or 20 or 30 or even 15 grand, it's like, well, maybe I should try lot cover screens and all of this stuff. And you like add it all up and it's like now maybe spending 30 grand or 50 grand a month. I forget what the number is. I think it used to be 30 and now it's 50, but like now that number like stops being, it's like, oh, I've tested this. I have a 10 book series that like does
Yeah.
well. Like my
It's going to
one,
return. Yeah.
yes, like my friends who do this are like they have long series that like return and they're making like 200 to 300 grand a year already. And they're like, well, I need more than I can get on Amazon by itself. So like I'm gonna make this an Amazon reps problem.
Yeah.
And those are like scary, but usually that's like you're bumping up to one, two, maybe three levels. And you're like, this is survivable. And I have so much data to show that like I'm making the right decision, but still very scary.
Yeah. It still could be a mistake, but hopefully you've built on your past mistakes into past successes. And then you have the juice to make some more mistakes. And
Yes.
I'm looking at doing this comic book project with you. And I'm really excited about it. I love the project, love the script, love the book series it's going to be coming out of, and would definitely go into this with a handshake agreement, which is my litmus test. Like, would I just shake hands with Russell and do this? No contract signed? Yes. If it's a clear yes there, then let's move forward. Let's actually hammer out the contract. And I am looking at the investment of time. However, I'm writing more, and I have to say writing is the best bet that I can make with my time.
Right.
Writing or napping or spending time with my kids or exercising. Like, these are good things that move my life forward. I'm actually looking at doing 0 reader signings because I kind of dread them.
Mhm.
Why am I spending all this time to do something that I dread? Like,
Right.
my time is so precious, especially my kids are 6 and 8, and they're so awesome. And in 10, 20 years, they're out of the house. So
Right.
this is it,
Right.
know? And you talked about Comic Con, and I really want to go to Comic Con. And it might just be a decision that I hold off at an experience I hold off on until my kids can come with me or
Sure.
whatever. So I'm looking at doing this comic, and I'm like, what's the time investment and what's the money investment? What's interesting is we talked about the contract, and I was actually looking at it in terms of, I don't know if this will make money. So how do I get rights back free and clear so that I can do whatever I want without worrying about a return and
Right.
splitting costs? That's actually where I was coming from when we were talking about comic terms. And now that I think about it, that's probably the wrong question to ask. I should be asking, like, Kristen Catherine Rush had a great Patreon and blog. I don't know if she still has it, but she's like, stop, selling out your rates and thinking about what if it fails? What if it succeeds wildly? That's really where you need the contract and setting that up. And I just want to say, I need to think of both those sides for the contract. So I was like, well, let me buy Russell out at the end. But if the comic is a wild success, I actually would prefer to split the money. It was just, if the comic's going to make $5 after the
Right.
Kickstarter, paying you out a couple cents per quarter, I'd rather just not spend the time doing that.
Sure. Sure. No, I mean, it totally makes sense. And I love that you said, I think that we, especially at the beginning of our career, are so, and I think that that is one of the things when you're like leveling up to what we were talking about like doing these like logical but still very scary things. Like, you can back up all of the things with data, like you have all of these experiences, but still it's like, but I have never done this thing before, so like maybe it won't make any money. I know with like the series you're talking about, like there's 15 books, like 13 or 15 books in that series, and like it's already made like a ton of money for you. So like one of the things I always say is, like, when you're looking to do like aquatic things, like move into other formats, like look for a series that is already massively profitable. Like when we started doing the Godsverse Chronicles novels, it's like, oh, well, like I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars in profits on these comics. So it's like, even if I fail at doing this, I still like would be massively in the black for this.
Yeah. And I love the series. You love the Godsverse Chronicles, and launching them in different formats makes a lot of sense. I love the series. I want to do more with it. I love art. The idea of a comic is so lovely. I'm really coming to this project with, I love it. Now, I'm also trying to think more about trends, and I do think it makes a lot of sense to move into art, webtoon. I'm seeing a trend. It's so interesting to me. The readers want more discreet covers. That's a trend. And I think the opposite is also true. I think I heard at a conference, they were selling art prints, and the racier the art print, the more explicit the pose, the better.
Yeah,
And
that's
I was
what
thinking,
you told me when you came back.
yeah, it was blowing my mind. I was thinking, wait a second, they want discreet paperbacks, but they also want the really racy stuff. And sometimes the trend goes one way, but the opposite is also going to be true. Just
Right.
like Gen Z is the most online generation, they also want to hold a print book in their hand, which
Right.
is why I think they want the discreet version, because
Right.
they want to be seen in public with a very discreet
Right.
cover,
Right.
but then have the explicit version on the shelf at home. And so, all that to say, my brain is finding logical reasons to do something that I just want to do, but I think it is a smart move. I just love it and I have the art to hang on my wall later, or whether it makes me a ton of money selling at a conference that I eventually go to when my kids are
Right.
old enough and I feel like they're teenagers, they don't like me anymore, I can leave.
Well, it's really interesting how you went about it too, because in writing this comic, you explicitly said, I want a bunch of splash pages because I want to be able to use that art. And a splash page is a single panel page, like it's just like a page of art. There may be text on it, but like it's made more to be like an art print kind of thing. And like you were like, if this is not going to like continue, I want to at least have one like 5 pages of like art to use. And I thought that was a really smart way for an author to think about doing a comic or doing any format. It's like, well, let's say that we do this comic and like it breaks even, or it like does barely better than break even, or like it loses. Like I don't think it's going to lose money, but like let's say it like doesn't like blow us away. We're like, yes, we're going to do another one.
Yeah.
um then you at least have like those 5 pages or whatever, all of that art to like do with and
Yeah.
recover. Like you could run a Kickstarter for it and use them as this covers or something like that.
Yeah, I could discrete editions and multiple editions, special editions are really
Mhm.
popular. Barnes and Noble said, "Hey, we would like a special edition just on our store." And apparently Apple Books loves illustrated covers. So you could probably put up a special one and let them know if you have a
Right.
contact there. And I was late to this cover trend, by the way. Renee and I had a conversation just this week about how we were really grouchy about it.
Mhm.
And we had to kind of find how it was fun for us to step away from the racy covers on Amazon that we're used to that look so dated now and do a discreet version, but also maybe discreet version with explicit art inside. And that's the beautiful hardback Kickstarter, like I said,
Right.
like you were saying, I can reuse this art there. If I go to conferences, I could sell it on the table. I can probably use the non-explicit stuff, the non-racy stuff in Facebook ads or for branding on my website, or send it out on my newsletter. Like, look at this beautiful stuff. Here's some extra, and draw people into my world in all these ways. So I do think it is a smart decision. At the same time, it could be a giant flop. It could be a giant mistake, but I'm trying, I guess, to figure out all the ways that I could do one thing and use it a million ways.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's so important when you're thinking about like, how do I grow, especially past a certain point? It's like there are markets that you will be able to suddenly access if you have a comic. And like those people might buy the books. A lot of those people in comics will buy the books. And a lot of the people in books want the comic. And like the same thing with like an RPG or like a deck, like all of those things open up, especially when you are like at your level of success. Even my level of success, it's like, oof, I don't want to say this, but I'm gonna like, it's really hard to fail when you have a big, like a
Yeah.
failure to me is like this book only broke even or made $1,000, or like I like, and if I launch a book on Kickstarter, it'll probably make $4,000, like with like, and or five, between 4 and 5 grand. And so it's like, is that really in the grand scheme of like it made back its money, it made like extra, like I made 5 grand, like I had a few hundred people doing it, like it's like, is that like that would be considered, like if it made 3 grand instead of 5 grand, like that would be a massive failure for me as a writer now. And so like when you're first starting, you have 100 people on your email list, it's hard to be like, I'm going to try different formats of stuff. Like, we did a card game last year and it made like $5,000, which is like not very good for a card game, but like it still made $5,000. If and like, so once you have a bigger audience, it almost unlocks your ability to do these things and be able to justify, like, I'm probably going to make $10,000 on this. Like, I'm not going to make no money. Like, almost whatever I do, I'm going to have an audience for it. Not because like they are just going to mindlessly buy anything that I make, even though that is true, but it is true because they know that I am taking care in what I'm making and making all of these things. And when I'm putting out new formats, when I'm trying new things, it's like I am inhabiting what I think my audience wants and what I want. So when I put out a thing, like, it's hard for me to like have a complete disaster.
I think it would only be a failure if you hated the process and it sucked.
Right, which is the biggest thing when I talk about, I mean, how much time on the call that I had with you and Renee was like, do not do a long series. Like, I'm talking you out of doing it. Like, and mostly it's because like when you try a new format, you might hate it. You might love it. It's like, I can't tell you how much I enjoy negotiating contracts because like I'm surprised that that is a thing that like I enjoy, because like I never thought I would do it, but by trying it, you might find, oh my God, where have comics been all my life? Like I did when I started doing comics. Or you might say, oh my God, I can't believe I agreed to 50 issues of comics. Like I need to be able to get out of this right now.
Yeah, doing a small project. I am excited about this project we're looking at, The Berserkers, and it's about 26 pages, I think.
Yeah.
And I was thinking we do this Kickstarter and then either I figure out how to reformat a lot of it, like hire the same artists and say, I would love to put this on a webtoon somewhere that allows explicit webtoons, and there might be a potential to put that up on Ream,
Right.
the subscription model. And if not, maybe somewhere else. But I'm really excited about it. But I am weighing the fact that I like to wake up in the morning and not have anything on my to-do list and the least amount of emails as possible.
Sure.
So how many emails am I going to get from this project?
Right.
And am I going to be excited to open them because it is art, which I'm hoping is a yes, and that's why I'm doing it. But is
Yeah, I
it going
mean,
to drag me away from a bigger project I'm more excited about?
I think you're very good at building structures, from my short experience knowing you, of like hiring people that know what they're doing and like insulating yourself from all except the things that excite you. I know none of us are perfect at that, but like in my experience, like you and Melissa, honestly, as well, like do a lot of work to like create, like, I don't want to say blocks. It's not blocks, barriers, like
Yeah, no,
porous
boundaries.
barriers. Yes, like, but it's really like porous barriers that like the stuff you love get through and the stuff you don't get like stopped by like the filters of your partners in things or your assistants or like your just your overall like how you've built your business. And I think that's so important what we're learning at Writer MBA, because Monica and I were both solopreneurs for so long, of like Monica said this thing of like a couple months ago. She's like, I have a list of like all of the tasks I don't want to do, and when I do it, I put it on this list and it gets automated, or like it gets hired out, or like something happens and eventually you're like, oh, I can like, yes, most of revenue, most of expenses going up is just you have to do less things because you have the right people in place or the wrong people in place. And I've definitely had both of those experiences. And like my rule is now has been growing. I look to hire people who have done the exact thing that I need them to do in the industry that I work in. And I didn't always like one of the problems with our growth team was like they did not do ads in publishing newsletters. Like they did AI and crypto and like fashion and things that are just like more hungry audiences, as opposed to someone like Melantadra, who like have run a conference in publishing and have the connections and structures in place to make us stop getting like to like mitigate all of the issues and foresee it all, not because they are like soothsayers, but because they have probably run into every single use case in our edge cases that we've done before.
Yeah, and I think that's great advice for hiring. It sounds like you're becoming more discerning in your hires, and ideally go slowly when you hire slowly, and then fire fast.
Yeah.
Because you can tell when something's a dumpster fire really fast.
Yeah.
And don't throw good money after bad, get out of it. And I learned that lesson about firing early on. It was the most valuable lesson I ever learned. And it freed up spaces in my business to hire the perfect people who working this job is a dream job for them. It's a win-win-win on every level, but getting past the bad decisions faster, I think.
I have had more and more problems over time paying deposits for things that for work that has not been done, not because I'm not willing to do it, but just because like then when you fire somebody, you're stuck, or signing a contract with someone, you're like stuck in that time. Like I knew very early on that this growth team was not going to work out, but I was in a 3-month commitment. Like we hired people for like and paid thousands of dollars for them to like do work. And the only reason we did is because like, oh, you've done this exact work before. So like do it, but like not in the industry that we work in. And so it's and this goes back to something you told me about comics, because you've tried to get people to work on comics before, right? I'm not going to tell the story. You can tell it and give as much data as you want. But I have a question for you afterwards.
So I was interested. I was reading more webtoons, and someone said, "Oh, I can help you with that. I can find artists." And I did get some art out of it, which I'm really grateful for. It was really exciting, but the project didn't go very far because the project manager had too much on their plate, and I knew this about them. They have a lot of big ideas and a lot of fun things they can sell you on, and then the follow through just isn't there. And I kind of wanted to help them. Like they did a TikTok channel for me. They did other things. And I love this person, but yeah, I can just be their friend. I don't have to feed them money to do projects because it's not going to go through. And that's okay. Like we all make choices and that's their choice. And my choice is work with Russell because he's done these projects. He knows the artists. He can get the comics completed. I can see them behind his chair right now. Proof that he's done this exact thing in this exact space. And the timing's right. I have the cash sitting ready to put towards artists, and I didn't have to force it a couple years ago. It's nice that I tried it and I only lost, a couple grand trying it. I did get art out of it, so I don't even see it as a loss. It was kind of a small failure that I could recoup from. And then the opportunity presented itself so beautifully with you. And I'm going, oh, okay, then this is a clear yes, because I've done it the other way. That was a no.
Right.
That's okay. Because when the yes comes along, I'm ready.
Yeah. I think that also it's like, so before I talked with Melissa, I hadn't done any steamy stuff in comics, but I had translated a lot of my work between comics and novels and vice versa. So when I worked with Melissa, it like just made sense because I had done that thing in that, not even in that. And when I started working with you, it's like, not only was it in the comics translation, but it was like in steamy romance translation. It was like, not because I'm some like savant, but just because of doing it, like I was able to take the comic and know like what a scene means and like what the meaning that you were trying to convey in it. Because I've both like now written a steamy romance novel, I've done steamy comics, and I've done comics, and I've translated. Like there's a big difference between what goes on a page and what goes on a comic page.
Yeah, when I read the script, I could see the scenes and I was like, yes, this is a hell yes. And I think it's worth waiting for a clear yes. And
Yes.
if you're not sure, can you date before you marry? So, can we do a small comic? Can I pay someone for some art? Can I hire a publicist just for a launch?
Right.
And I did. And I fired all my publicists.
Yeah. And I think you just like, I think you have to like, I got to go back to the growth team thing for a second. Like I just got cocky. Like I got cocky that like, I was like, oh, I'm at a place. This came like, it came in a way that like, I felt like, I was like, oh, it's a thing. Like they're right there. Like this is what I want to do. But I didn't listen to the red flags. I didn't listen to like, oh, it's this is not like a publishing this company does not have experience in publishing newsletters. They do not have experience like building landing pages. They're not doing testing as much as they're just doing like they're putting a bunch of stuff like I things that if I look back, I'd have been like, those are clear red. I had never would have hired this company. Like, why did I not listen to the red flags? And a lot of the hiring decisions, if they're not like, oh my God, you just had a tragedy and like, I'm so sorry, but like, I still have a business to run. So like, let's just put a pause in this. Generally come down to somebody that just like does not know your industry. And I do think specifically romance writers get very hung up on this, especially when something like Kickstarter comes along and they're like, I don't know, where is the steamy romance? And we're like, there's steamy romance. Or like, where's the romance? And you're like, here's romance. And like, well, not steamy romance. Here's steamy romance. What about paranormal romance? Here's paranormal romance. Yes, but like, what if like I need both people to be like one's a dragon shifter and one's like, and you're like, at some point you're just like saying no. And like that's
That's
okay to say no.
that's because we're used to being able, like you pointed out, romance is so large. We're used to be able to find the niche. I
Right.
don't swap newsletters. I don't do newsletter swaps with romance authors. I do newsletter swaps with paranormal, dragon shifter, mermaid,
Right.
romance novelist,
Right.
like
Right.
whatever that niche is, because I can. And if I was in another genre, I'd probably say, oh, you wrote a Western? I have a Western. Let's go.
But like there's also some things that like for someone who like doesn't work in romance, you're like, I think it was a good idea for Cameron to work with a romance author. As someone who did not work with romance authors before, like to have Anne Marie like be like, I worked with Cameron. We like did a thing. Like it was like I think that like there are some things, especially when you're running ads for like steamy romance stuff, that like if you don't know, you're just going to be like, sure, we can do that. Sure. What do you talk about? Like anyone who knows the lingo will be like, no, actually, like there are all of these legitimate things that like you must know about my like the difference between running sci-fi and fantasy might not be different. The difference between running sweet romance and like
I see.
spicy romance ads, especially even on this podcast, like I'm like I have to say spicy, I can't say the other words, and you're like,
Yes.
I'm like I've never run into that before, but like you're absolutely right. So like there's some degree of like, well, you don't actually know what you're talking about though, because like this is ours very specific use case even within publishing. And the same is true with like nonfiction books have just a different stack than magazines do, that newsletters do. And like if you don't know that stuff and you can't like to go back to the comic, like I've translated a lot of comics before I translated Death's Kiss and before I translated your book. And it's like there's a lot of thirst. Like they're always thinking about like how sexy the other person is and like bringing it back to like that moment which like I
Yeah.
get, because like you have to keep re-envisioning the sexy man in the sexy woman in the so you have to keep bringing, but like in a comic it's like they know that they're sexy, they're literally watching them be
They're
sexy,
seeing
they're
it.
seeing
Yeah.
sexiness. And again, it's like nothing is like both, it's just like a translation thing that is very specific to like making a romance comic. If in every panel or page the person was thinking how sexy they are, it like breaks the flow of a comic, but it doesn't break the flow of a reading it.
I'm writing a book right now. It is a romance. It's a dark romance. He's stalking her. He is basically kinky Batman. And I gave it to my beta reader and she said, "Oh, is this a thriller?" Because it didn't have enough of the, "Oh, he's so hot. Oh, she's so hot." The sequels, basically. The
Right,
romance is in the sequels.
right.
The romance is the feelings. The feelings are in the sequels. So the scene is action. He he unalives the guy. That's another TikTok word. Unalives a guy and leaves him on her doorstep, which is romance and dark romance. And then I need him thinking about that and how obsessed he is with her. And I need her thinking about him and how obsessed she is with him, even though she doesn't want to be because it's dark romance. Without that, it's not a romance. So
Sure.
it's so funny that you're pointing that out. I'm literally rewriting the first chunk of my book to have more of those scenes that you're saying aren't necessary in comics.
Well, some of it is necessary. It's like you have to, and also depending on if it's more slice of life and or more action or like what the thing is, it's like there is sex in almost every page of Soul to the Berserkers after a certain point. So it's like,
Yeah,
well, the
they're just in bed
yes, like for
for
most
like
of the book, it's
for
like
most of it. Yes.
yes. So it's like some of it is necessary, and knowing when to add that thirst in and when not to is like a translation thing, because you want to like, okay, I'll give you an example. We talked about this off air, but it was like they said do what I'm saying. Like like the Berserkers was like, if you just do as I say, you're like going to like we're gonna do what you want.
Survive. Yeah.
Right. And but
Keep it.
like in the actions, she's clearly doing like what they say in every action. So it's like, do you need to double down on do what we say if like in every action? Well, like in a book, you do have to remind people and like they need to come across as like more domineering or like it needs to come across as more non-comp, but like in a
Yes.
comic,
That's
like
what it is.
you're watching them be domineering.
You can get it from the way they're looming over her in the image
Right.
versus I was doing it with dialogue in this very short, spicy
Right.
novella. I
Yes.
do have a logistics question for this Kickstarter comic. Have you ever combined a like, I have discrete covers with art inside, a special edition with a comic? Could we do that?
So we did that with Death Kiss actually. SK
Okay.
had a 6-book series in hardcover of all of the SK Prince novels, and like we that was one of the perks of there. But like if you're saying doing a comic and then doing like a special edition hardcover at the same time for like the same book, I'm sure that there have been. There's not a ton of romance comics or people crossing over in the way that like we're talking about. So I think that it would be a good idea
I really
to at
want to
least
do
try
it.
it.
At the same time, whenever I collaborate with someone, I love a 50-50 split. I feel really comfortable with that. And we talked about at the end of the Kickstarter, my request was, can I buy you out, get all the rights, get
Sure.
everything back from the publisher too? Because we're looking at working with Lori, the publisher. And I love this because you have so much knowledge. You're going to help me with all those emails about how should he be posed? And I'll be like,
Sure.
more alpha? Oh,
Sure.
and you'll help me with that. And then Lori can help with finding the comic book readers. I would love to put in all the juicy romance novel Kickstarter stuff
Sure.
and do a double thing. I do see a trend towards web comics, especially in the future. So I think we make this a blockbuster,
I mean,
you
what would
know,
be really
have it
interesting
all.
is you can take all of the variant covers and all of the imagery, and that becomes what's in, and all of like the splash pages, and some of those can become imagery inside the book.
Yeah, that's what I want.
And to beef it up, like, I mean, I don't think there are rules. Like there is, well, like I can tell you what is happening. This is one of the big problems that we always talk about with writers. It's like I can tell you the best practice of like what people are doing now, but no best practice has ever broken through and been the next big thing. Like, and so it's like you can follow a best practice, and I can say you'll probably make 20 grand or 30 grand or like 50 grand, whatever, 5 grand, 3 grand, 1 grand. Like I can give you all of those metrics. And if you follow those metrics, like I can probably tell you what bounds you'll fall within. The
Mhm.
problem is like you do something different, like you might fall below those bounds if it's too
Yeah.
weird. Like,
Yeah.
or you might fall way above it. But like every breakout really is like taking the bounds and saying, but no, I'm going to take everything you know. I'm going to give you this thing, but a little different in this other way.
I am really excited to do exactly that because I see this comic as a relaunch of this series. And even if we just did the comic, it is allowing me to give attention to the series. It's
Sure.
giving me an excuse to talk about something I love. That's what marketing is to me.
Right.
And I'm going, well, a lot of romance authors go gangbusters with these discrete covers, special editions. Stephanie Holmes just crossed 100 grand plus with her beautiful new covers. And I'm going to talk to her in Dallas. So I'll be like, what are you doing? Congratulations. Tell me, what did you like? What did you not like? But yeah, I really see this as a combination of here's my old series, brand new in many different ways. The comic is a major part of it, but there are some people who I think will buy into the Kickstarter just because they want the pretty book.
Sure.
And I say we do all of it.
I
Let's
mean,
go.
I feel like I want like I thought Melissa's book was like $100,000 Kickstarter. I still think it was $100,000 Kickstarter, like especially because we got 800 people like to back it. Like that should be like a
Yeah.
50 or $60,000 Kickstarter by itself. Just like the ARPU was a little bit too low, so like we got to fix that. But like I
What's
think
our
the
poo?
average pledge, the average cart value, of like it was like 25 and it needed to be like 50 or 80 or $100 to like, if we had 800 people with an average pledge level of $100, that's $80,000 campaign, right? The other thing is SK Prince is the most popular in France, not
Mm.
in, and so like Kickstarter is not super popular in like France. And like we spend a lot of money on translations that like,
That's good data though.
yeah.
It wasn't data I had to accumulate or pay for, but thank you for the data. This is why I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
dude,
I mean,
50%.
yes. So, I mean, I think that yes, like, I think that like your books are more popular in America than SK Prince's books were.
Yeah.
Like your audience is more American than SK Prince's books were. And so like, if we just run that playbook and like we add in the special edition hardcover, and now we have like $50 you can get both, or $100 you get. I don't know what the
Oh,
number
and
is.
the audiobooks.
Right,
Because I'm sitting here going, I need to do something with this IP.
right,
I want to throw in the audiobooks. I definitely want to throw in the ebooks. I'll put pretty art in the ebooks. I'll put
sure,
pretty art in the special edition hardcovers. We will be hiring someone to fulfill all of this. That's going
sure.
to be a cost. So I do want to blow it up and market it like crazy. And I feel really comfortable with the 50-50 split because even if they click to the Kickstarter that I'm talking about nonstop and they see this and then they go to Amazon or my website, my direct store, and they can buy it there. Or maybe we won't do these covers. We'll do
Yeah,
get a third set of covers
yeah,
probably.
it'll be another set of covers. But yeah, I mean, there is a definite spillover effect on Kickstarter to other. We talked about this spillover effect for running ads to retailers, but there's also a potentially big spillover effect that we have seen a very little amount of, but like I've seen people have very significant spillover effects if their stuff is available on Amazon while they're doing a campaign. In fact, about a year ago, we changed our best practice to like you should have your book up for pre-order, but like put it a year out. So like at least people can pre-order the book if it's not there, because a lot of people have, especially in the special edition, people would tell us like how much money they were making on retailers. Not as much as like, it's not a 7-figure spillover, but like it's significant. I mean, it's a significant spillover effect for people that like just see it, because like I do it. We all do it. Like we all see a thing and then we're like, this is not my preferred mode of like consumption. Right. Can I get this thing that I want on the mode of consumption that I want?
Yeah. I do it all the time with my friends who said, "Oh, here's my book on BookFunnel." I'm like, "I've already bought it on Amazon. I just want to read it on my Kindle. Thank you."
Yes. Yeah. I mean, exactly. And so I think that the more formats you can put in, but the more special you can make the book, the better. Like, especially like, let's say you were like, I want to get 2 covers from Luca Strati, who's one of the artists that we had on the, but like, I actually want 3, because like one of them is going to go in the book and you have to buy the book to like get all 3 of them. Like completionists will buy that book. Like if you put like, we've talked about doing, well, you can't do it for this book, but let's say you have the ability where your whole book's not about sex. And like you can make a safe for work version and a not safe for work version, yes. Which like hasn't been like a what I have learned about romance is like in a truly great romance, you probably like the plot and the characters move forward in the sex scenes. So
happen with this, yeah,
yeah, but like so you would have to basically say, I'm going to make this safe for work book that like I'm going to do a whole different scene that they somehow get like that conveys the same stuff, and then you have a not safe for work one, and then like all of those things can like up how many people like buy and make it like palatable, especially if like Amelia Rose is a great example, because like she has a safe for work version of her comic on Webtoon, and then she has a very not safe for work version on her Patreon and Kickstarter. So yeah. All of those things are like very possible. But to go back to what we talked about at the very beginning, it's like these are things that you don't know unless like you live in a world of like steamy romance comics, and like this is like these are like those little things when you're looking to hire somebody were a big impediment for us at Writer MBA when we first started, especially in the romance community, because romance people were like, you've never written romance before, you don't know how to support us. And we were like, well, we live in the romance community, we just like don't have, but like you do, like when you're writing it, it definitely does take it to a different level where you're like, oh, I'm reading way more smut than I ever read before, because I want to see how these scenes are like put together, and like how to have multiple characters above 2 in spicy content, and like all of these things are like things that like more of my brain space is about. So I think that when you're vetting somebody, one of the things that I think about now when I'm meeting with them, and like I chat with a lot of people and a lot of vendors, is just like, do they know? Like, are they saying the things that like I need to like? I'll give you an example. I met with somebody a few weeks ago, and they were like, we're going to help direct sales. Kickstarter authors do direct sales because like publishers don't do direct sales, and I was like, dude, literally, I am doing that. Like like I can name 5 people who are like doing the thing you are saying nobody is doing. So like you sound like an idiot. Like you probably are not an idiot, but like to me, literally to my face saying like no one teaches direct sales for authors when like literally we have a book about it and a course about it and like tons of our friends do it. Like it just like when you hear that thing, I have started to like have a series of questions that I will just be like casually jump in conversation and if I'm like, that just is inaccurate. It means you haven't researched the material enough to like do the work that needs to be done.
Yeah, a friend of mine was on a call yesterday with, and she said, "Man, I was on this call and he didn't know anything, and it was really a novel experience to go, wait, he's a guy with so much confidence and he doesn't know anything." I was like, "Oh, it's a good lesson to learn. Don't assume that you're the smartest person in the room, but don't assume that you're the dumbest either. Like you have your own set of experiences that you're bringing to this." And I just thought of something. We're talking about like these stepping stones of failure and success. And I'm like, oh yeah, you and Melissa Storm did this comic. We have a podcast together. We're talking about it all the time. I have a hankering. I've always wanted to do a comic. So it's happening. And Russell, I think you're going to get this reputation of I work with all these romance authors and I do this comic space, and you're going to find a hockey romance person that is going to go bananas. It will explode the market. It will be the next year of Sanderson, but hockey edition. TikTok will be all over it. They're already loving those illustrated covers, like Hannah Grace, the hockey. So I can picture it. I'm like, yeah, maybe our Kickstarter doesn't do what you want either, but you inch further in the space. And you're so right about Cameron and Anne-Marie Meyer. I was in a mastermind with Anne-Marie Meyer doing direct sales. We all hired Cameron. Yeah. She said, "Oh, hire this guy. He works with me." She was kicking butt. We immediately hired him, all of us, without even a question. Some of us had hired other people. We just started to ignore them and listen to Cameron. So I see you moving into this space and all these opportunities open up. And I read on your blog that you and Monica had this Kickstarter course and then Kickstarter blew up. And I'm like, I see that happening again with comics.
So if you are a hockey romance person, there is a very good hockey romance comic called Check Please. It's a sweet romance, though. It's not a spicy romance, but it has been out for years. It's like one of the most popular Kickstarters of comics, especially in the romance category. So like, yes, I told Monica that I did a comic with SK, wrote a book with SK, and now we're to comic with you. So it's like, I think I'm a steamy romance author now. Like three's a trend, right?
You definitely are. You don't need to have a higher body count than that.
And I'm like excited because like I really enjoy doing this work, and like I'm pretty picky on who I work with, and like I really like working in comics and hiring like the top artists, and like my normal weirdo books like just don't do well enough to like make that happen. And I think that if I like it doesn't always happen, but like when it does happen with like someone like Monica or you and Melissa, where like just like all like you have a collaboration that is additive. And we talked about this maybe last week or 2 weeks ago, where like 1 + 1 equals minimum 3, if not like 10 or 20 or 30. It's like really, really, really fun because it's all of this like yes and it's like not like no, because like you just both like sit on a wavelength. And like I think that comics is spicy comics is the most successful category like per thing that you can do on Kickstarter. Special edition romances are like 2, like as far as publishing goes. So like, yes, all of you who are doing special edition romances, like let's do some comics, and like we can, and let's
do it.
I think it's a super fun and relatively painless experience if you can. So if you are interested in doing it, I would say what has been successful is to take a roughly 10 to 15,000 word short story, or book, or I think yours is like 18 or 20,000, below 20,000 words. And like, depending on the level of sex, like that might be a 20 to 40 page book, depending on the amount of like interior narration, and like there, like it might be less. It's been roughly, our translation has been like 15 to 20,000 words, being 24 to 28 pages roughly. And so like, but don't go into it saying I want to do like my 50 books, because you might hate it. I think you're gonna love it. But like um assume and assume that you're going to like do this one-off project just to see how it is. And I really love the thing you said about like make sure there's multiple splash pages inside, because then you can use it for art. Make sure you have a bunch of variant covers, because like then you can use that for art. And like romance people love variant covers, and we did 10 different covers.
And bought them.
Yes, times 3, because we did regular, virgin, and metal. And so it's like, if you love covers, like you can just go nuts with covers. You can go nuts with art and like get something that's really cool. I would not commit to doing more than one book, one short story, because like, though Lee and Melissa both ended up loving comics, a lot of people will be like, this is not my business. This is not the jam. And you don't want to at least do something where the issue ends with something satisfying. So if you don't want to do it again, people aren't like, where's book 6? Like, you just left us hanging.
Yeah. This is a natural starting point. Berserkers is a series of my heart, but it's not anywhere near it's not even my third most successful series, because it is a little niche.
Right.
It's Viking werewolves menage romance. It did find that intersection of spicy readers and paranormal readers, and it is pretty unique. I think rebranding it as romantasy-esque is smart. We'll see how that goes. But my series with Renee, which is Blockbuster, is so long. I vote we do the small project, and then I really was thinking after that we do a vampire book that has a lot of plot, and it would be a bigger project, longer project. Renee would be involved too. So hopefully like lighten the load, lighten the amount of emails I have to answer, and collaborate with the marketing. The powers of our combined marketing is massive. But this is how I like to approach things. Like, what's a small thing I can do where the failure is minimized? The impact, the effect of that failure isn't going to take me out. And really, like you said, it's not going to take us out monetarily. It will take us out energy wise.
Well, yeah. And not only that, but like, you will have to, like, even with something you don't like, I'm trying to say this in a way that is not like, we have this virtual conference that we're doing, and we're also trying to sell tickets to the in-person event. But like, everyone's like, the next thing is the virtual. So like, it is preventing us from selling the thing until we get over this thing. And so, not that we don't love the virtual. I'm sure by the time you read this, you'll listen to this, like, I'm sure it's lovely. It will have been lovely. But and this happens all of the time when you have like a promotion schedule, is like, the thing that's out needs 2 to 4 weeks of your time, like some amount of it. It like prevents you from doing the next thing. So like, you want to make sure that like, it's not going to take you out of commission energetically, but also just like, people have a finite brain space.
Yes. Attention span. I feel that because I'm getting the emails about the free conference. I'm going to send that email, and I posted in my Millionaire Author Mastermind Facebook group, free conference. Here it is. And then I was going to say, oh, and I will be in New Orleans. And I will be, because I want to do podcasting live.
Yeah, exactly. And you are not the first, second, or 20th person to tell me that exact thing. And like, it is just the cost that you have. Like, when you design your promotional schedule, you're like, oh, of course I can do this 2 months after this other thing. Or like, I can do this book and then this other book and then this other book. But like, especially if you're not in KU, it's like hard to be like every month or every 2 months, like I got a new book, give me $5 for it, give me $3 for it, give me $8 for it. Like one of the nice things about like the KU grinder is it's like those people are not paying additionally. They're just like going. So like you're actually mostly going like, read my free book, read my other free book. Here's another free book.
And the algorithm loves new. So your strategy is write, this is 67 pages, write 67-page novellas and pop them up like popcorn, one a month. And I could do that until I burned out. And then I realized, oh, I can do slightly longer books and now much longer books and release them slower. But I benefit from a massive backlist from the days that I just wrote books and published them into Kindle Unlimited and sent a newsletter. And that's all I did. And now there's new opportunities and I can try them out. And if they work, I can do that more unless I hated it, in which I will not do them. I'll do something else.
Right.
But there's, like you said, we have some safety nets in place because we have stuff that worked in the past. Right. And if you're in the publishing industry, I just want to point out what we're doing is so cool because when I worked a job, I would show up for an hour and they'd give me $10 or whatever. And now I make money on work that I did in 2015.
Right.
And I can continue to relaunch, redo, do a new comic, do a new marketing push, do new covers or whatever, but it's still work that I did mostly in 2015 and right. I'm renewing it and making income off of it. So if you have shifted into that sort of, I'm a creator, I create IP and I own my IP, you're playing a new game that is going to have massive benefits. The unfortunate thing is it can take a while to get that flywheel spinning
right.
fast enough. And now Russell and I basically pointed out, we have this flywheel spinning so fast, we couldn't stop it. It would take a lot of effort to stop it. In the beginning, it takes a lot of effort to get it going. And this is a whole metaphor from Jim Collins' Good to Great. But if your business is a flywheel, first year, you get it around once. Second year, you get it around twice. Third year, you have hired help and they're all pushing and suddenly you're going 10 times as fast as year one. And then 15 years down the road, you can't stop it. It would take an impossible amount of effort to slow it down in a year. You could do it in 10 years. You could completely crash and burn your business. I can point to my husband's old company, GE, as an example of a company that was great and now is not. But it's a lot harder and the time horizon is expanded. So if you're creating IP, congratulations, you're already playing a different game that's going to pay you dividends and rewards down the road.
And so as we work towards wrapping up to a close, I want to stress the thing you said, because once you have a story that works, like all of publishing, all of it is just finding a story that works for more and more and more people. Like that is the whole game. And once you have a story that works, the reason why people are like, I'm going to buy your book into a movie or this other thing is because like there's a seed of a story that works and they can bet on a comic will work or these other things will work because all of the mechanics of the story already work.
Yeah. And I can tell you about my failure/success stack real quick. I wrote with a publisher, an erotic publisher, to get my legs under me. I gave them cowboys. I hated that. After a while, I was done. So I said, well, I like the spicy. Let me write the werewolf spicy. And published this series. It started doing well. That got the attention of my awesome co-writer, Lily Zander. Lily said, hey, I have a contemporary name and contemporary romance is really a hard nut to crack. It's better to write in a niche. I want to write paranormal. You're writing paranormal. Great. So we co-wrote. That went really well. That did even better than my Berserker series. So Drakens did better. And then Renee said, oh, you're co-writing? I have these 3 books that I need to move forward with. Would you help me with them? Would you co-write these with them? And that series is my blockbuster series, The Bad Boy Alphas. But it started with me flailing around.
Yeah.
Just
Well, so
doing
you
things.
so you are so I wrote a post a while ago called the Bullseye Method to Audience Growth, and you basically just like outlined the exact thing, which is you start with one, and then you
Yeah.
grow up for another person, you grow up for a bigger, and you get a bigger series, and then like those series funnel into your smaller series, and those smaller series. I actually just read um whose book was it? I think it was The Near Witch, V.A. Schaub's Near Witch book, which is, V.A. Schaub did The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and like, just like, it's a massive,
A
massive,
Darker Shade of Magic is
yeah.
the quartet I read. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, then this was 2018 that she wrote. This was her first book, I think. I just read the introduction for it like 2 days ago. And like, she's like, now she just relaunched the whole thing, and she's like, now I have millions of new readers. I think this was in
Yeah.
2022, and it's like people kept asking me about this thing, and like and I find that like, well, we've been talking about the virtual conference since like probably February, and like since February is when I did almost all of the audience growth that I've done, and like, so like now there's 20,000 more people, 15,000 more people who didn't even know that the virtual was happening until like until I talk about it. And so like, you can, over time, even if it's not a year, even if it's a couple months, like you just have all of these people who their brain space for you is the Renee Rose books or the Lily books. And they
Yeah.
haven't even thought about like
Berserkers. And now I can
Berserkers
tell
and
them about Berserkers.
yes. And so like, even if it's selling a little bit, all of these people are like, there's a whole 15-book series of our author that I really love, and they go back and they fall in love again. And like, this is the kind of virtuous cycle that you're in as you grow your audience. And every time you go to a new format, the biggest thing that you get a chance to do is, we have an RPG, we have a comic, we have a this, but like, you're funneling it into like this 15-book series or this 20-book series that just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing with every launch, which is why like the thing of the best marketing is the next book is,
Yeah.
like, it's because it lets you talk about the whole series, but formats also let you do that.
Yeah. And I was new to formats, and then discrete covers are in, and I did try really hard to have bigger and bigger launches, and it turned out that I just needed my books in different formats like German and Italian and French.
Yes.
And not all of those books have earned out, but as a whole, it is such a massive benefit to my business that's what pushed me over 7 figures a year, guys. Yeah. Renee and I look at our 7-figure series, the Bad Boy Alphas. It's not one book, it's 20 books, and then times 4 languages.
Yes.
And then now in audio and German audio. And it's hard to fail at this point.
Yes. So if you are interested in like learning more about that thing, I recommend Inez told me about the box method. I know it's not her method, but
it's
like
Vanessa Vale.
Vanessa Vale's method. And like, basically the idea is you put your books, you put your formats, and you just start checking the box once you have a successful thing. And like, it feels like, well, how can I do that? And when you aren't making money, but like, once you're like, this book made me $10,000, like, I need to get it in every other format now.
You can reinvest into paperback, special edition paperback, hardback, large print, audiobook. That takes some investment, unless you're doing it cheaply or with AI or something. And then I just downloaded from Monica Lionel's course. It's the same spreadsheet, basically. The go wide, and it's like go wide extremely or something. Go wide as hard as you can.
Wide.
Yeah, some aggressively wide. Thank you. I couldn't find the word. That's a great word. Aggressively wide. And I opened it and I was like, yes, here it is. Here's my 7-figure business. It wasn't this one 70,000 word or 70-page book. It's the 20 behind it in every format, and then in every language in every format. And suddenly I have 1,000 bricks in a wall. And if every little, sheet the Excel spreadsheet, if every little square pays me 10 cents or $1, and of course it never averages out like that. It's like 80 of them do almost nothing and 20 of them just kick butt. And
Right.
and then you just see that in its math and you go, well, I will advertise that 20%.
Yeah,
And I will
absolutely.
turn that 20% into a comic.
Yeah, and like one of the things that I've learned about newsletters, and like I'm researching doing daily newsletters and all this other stuff, is like basically you take a fraction, like each subscriber is worth a fractional like dollar,
Yeah.
and like, but over the course of 100,000 people, it's averages out to like 750 to 80 cents per month per person if you send a daily newsletter and like you have advertising in it or sponsorships in it. And it's like, well, like 70 cents isn't that much when you have 10 people, but it's like a lot when you have 100,000 people. Like it's a lot when you have even 30,000 people. Like that's a lot of money per subscriber that you can make. And I know like the general metric is like $1 a month you're supposed to be making with like everyone on your mailing list if you're perfectly optimized. I've never seen anything close to that, but I absolutely see this, like if all of the people, if you have this audience, then like you just keep checking the boxes. And if like you don't have the audience, you like are testing to like figure out one that worked, and then probably the next one is going to do better, and the next one's probably going to be like even better than that, because you're not going to hit it. Like,
Yeah.
I've been doing newsletters now for like 15 years, and it's like this one hit pretty well. But even then, I'm like, oh, there's like all of this stuff that I could have done after just living in it. And you're like, well, I'm gonna make the Obsidian Spindle Saga now after the Godsverse Chronicles, and then like I'm gonna co-write with people who know, like all of those things are just like by living in the world and doing your series and releasing things, you're gonna be like, I shouldn't have made the main character a psychic. They should have been a witch. Like, I shouldn't have done penguin shifters. I should have done dragon shifters, or like whatever. And then you fix it, and then eventually, like you fix it enough times where like it hits.
It hits, and then you can expand from there.
Yeah. All right. We are way over the hour.
Love it.
So, do we have any homework for them before our next one? I don't think I have any homework. Like, look up the box method if you are at that point. Look up our. We'll probably put the bullseye method for audience growth.
I would love to see the bullseye method.
We'll link to Monica's book, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. For more, head on over to sixfigureauthorexperiment.com for archive access, resources, and more. We'll see you next time.